Welcome back to another episode of Infidelity Tales Lab. We're thankful for your continued viewership. Before we begin, tell us, where in the world are you watching from? We love knowing our global reach. Now, let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Empire of Sand. Russell Sinclair ran his finger along the edge of his mahogany desk, squinting at the quarterly reports. At 53, he had built Sinclair Innovations from nothing into a billion-dollar tech security company. The office walls were adorned with patents and awards, tangible proof of his ruthlessness and genius. "Mr. Sinclair, your wife called again. She wants to know if you'll be home for dinner." Maggie, his assistant of 15 years, stood in the doorway. Russell glanced at his watch, 7:30 p.m. "Tell Veronica, I'll be home by 9. The Davidson contract can't wait." Maggie hesitated. "Sir, this is the third time this week." He knew what she meant. 15 years of loyalty had earned Maggie the right to occasionally speak out of turn. Russell sighed, running a hand through his salt and pepper hair. "I know, but this contract secures our government division for the next decade." The truth was, he'd been avoiding home. 30 years of marriage to Veronica had taught him to recognize the signs. The new wardrobe, the mysterious appointments, the sudden interest in privacy. After 3 decades, he knew when his wife was lying. "Your brother called too," Maggie added. "Wants to discuss his proposal for restructuring the R&D department." Russell's jaw tightened. Theo had joined the company 20 years ago, always chasing shortcuts. "Tell him I'll review it next week." And your daughter sent the presentation for her new product line. At least Sophia was trying. Unlike Theo, she'd earned her MBA, but her impatience was concerning. At 28, she wanted to run divisions without understanding the fundamentals. Russell's phone vibrated. A message from his private investigator. "Final report ready. Meet tomorrow, 7 a.m. He'd hired Dominic Webb 3 months ago when he first suspected something was wrong. Not just with Veronica, but with his entire family. Money had a way of revealing people's true characters. Russell pulled into his driveway at 9:30 p.m. The sprawling mansion in Newport Beach gleamed under strategically placed landscape lighting, a monument to success that had become increasingly hollow. Inside, he found Veronica in their bedroom, closing her laptop quickly when he entered. "Working late again?" she asked, her tone laced with accusation despite her own deception. "The Davidson contract," he replied, studying her. At 51, Veronica was still beautiful, maintaining her figure through religious devotion to Pilates and cosmetic procedures. Her auburn hair was freshly colored, her nails perfectly manicured. "Sophia called. She's annoyed you haven't reviewed her proposal." Russell loosened his tie. "She needs to learn patience." "She's your daughter, Russell. You could show some support." "I supported her through private school, Harvard, and a cushy VP position most people work decades to earn." He hung his jacket in the walk-in closet, noting the new Louboutins and Chanel bags. "New shopping spree." "Don't start," Veronica warned, turning away. As he showered, Russell considered the meeting tomorrow. Webb had promised conclusive evidence. 3 months of surveillance on his wife, daughter, and brother. 3 months of suspicious bank transfers, mysterious meetings, and hush phone calls. Sleep evaded him as Veronica feigned slumber beside him. His mind calculated, strategized, planned. Russell Sinclair hadn't built an empire by being naive. Whatever conspiracy was unfolding around him, he would be ready. Chapter 2, Shadows and Whispers. At precisely 7 a.m., Russell sat across from Dominic Webb in a private room at the Marina Club. The former FBI agent slid a thick folder across the table. "It's all there, Mr. Sinclair. Everything you suspected and worse." Russell opened the folder, his expression unchanging as he examined the photographs, bank statements, and transcripts. "Your wife has been having an affair with Derek Holbrook for approximately 7 months. Russell's grip tightened slightly on the page. Derek Holbrook, his wife's tennis instructor, 15 years younger than Veronica. She's transferred nearly $2.3 million to various accounts he controls. Webb continued methodically. "Your brother Theo has been meeting with Walter Prentice from Nexus Technologies, your main competitor. He's been providing information about your upcoming security protocols. Russell nodded. Betrayal from Theo wasn't surprising. His younger brother had always resented living in his shadow. And my daughter? Webb hesitated. Sophia has been working with both of them. She's coordinated several meetings at her apartment where all three, your wife, brother, and Holbrook, have been present, along with Prentice and this man. He pointed to a photo of a sharp-featured man in an expensive suit. That's Martin Fletcher, Russell said quietly. Corporate attorney. They've been planning a takeover, Mr. Sinclair. From what we've gathered, the plan involves forcing you out during the next board meeting. They're collecting evidence of supposed mismanagement, while Theo has been quietly courting board members. Russell studied the documents silently, his mind racing. 5 months ago, he'd updated his will, leaving controlling interest to the company to Sophia, with substantial shares to Veronica and a smaller percentage to Theo. They couldn't know he'd changed it again just 1 month later. There's something else, Webb said, sliding another document forward. Medical records. They've been consulting with Dr. Lawrence Phillips. My physician. Yes. They've accessed your medical files multiple times. The pieces clicked into place. The sudden concern about his health from Veronica. Sophia's insistence he get a comprehensive physical. Theo's comments about succession planning. They're hoping I'm sick, Russell said flatly. Or planning to make me appear unfit to lead. Webb nodded. That seems to be the direction. Russell closed the folder. Continue monitoring them. I want daily reports. Mr. Sinclair, given what we've uncovered, I recommend taking immediate legal action. Russell smiled thinly. That won't be necessary, Mr. Webb. I have something different in mind. That evening, Russell complained of severe headaches at dinner. Veronica's concern seemed genuine, but now he recognized the calculating look behind her eyes. I've been getting dizzy spells at work too, he mentioned casually. Probably just stress. You should see Dr. Phillips, Veronica suggested quickly. I'll call him tomorrow. I already did, Russell lied. He wants to run some tests next week. Later, he overheard Veronica's hushed phone conversation from his home office, the surveillance system he'd installed capturing every word. Yes, he's finally seeing Phillips. No, he doesn't suspect anything. Just stick to the plan, Derek. Once he's declared unfit, the board will have no choice. She lowered her voice further. I've loved you for so long. Soon we won't have to hide. Russell closed the video feed, his face impassive. The game was set. Now he would change the rules. Chapter 3. The Hospital Bed. 3 weeks later, Russell lay in a private room at Newport Medical Center, his plan in motion. Dr. Harold Manning, an old friend and the only person Russell trusted with the truth, had orchestrated everything perfectly. To the hospital staff, Russell Sinclair was undergoing tests for a possible neurological condition. The symptoms, confusion, memory lapses, diminished decision-making capacity, had been carefully documented. The door opened, and Veronica entered with Sophia. His daughter's designer outfit and perfect makeup couldn't hide her anticipation. How are you feeling, Daddy? Sophia asked, squeezing his hand while checking the medical charts hanging at the foot of his bed. Confused, Russell mumbled, playing his part. They keep running tests. Dr. Phillips says they'll have results soon, Veronica said, exchanging a glance with Sophia. The company, Russell said weakly. Don't worry about that, Sophia said quickly. I've taken care of everything at the office. My bank account has more zeros than yours ever did, she added with a laugh that was meant to sound lighthearted, but couldn't hide her glee. The Tokyo deal went through. We're projecting record profits this quarter. Russell noted how she emphasized I and my already claiming ownership. The door opened again, and Theo walked in, looking uncomfortable in the hospital setting. Brother, he said stiffly, you look terrible. Thanks, Russell muttered. The company should have been mine. Theo suddenly sneered, his filter apparently weakened by the sight of his powerful brother in a hospital gown. I was there from the beginning. 20 years I've watched you take credit for my innovations. Theo, Veronica hissed. Not now. Why not? You probably won't even remember this conversation tomorrow, Theo retorted, but he fell silent under Veronica's glare. Russell closed his eyes, pretending to drift off. Through barely open lids, he watched as Veronica stepped into the hallway with a tall, handsome man, Derek Holbrook. "We're just waiting for the will reading," he heard Veronica whisper to the man, who Russell now recognized as not just her lover, but an attorney specializing in corporate takeovers. Russell maintained his facade of sleep as his family continued their conversation, believing him unconscious. "The board meeting is on Friday," Theo said quietly. "Once Phillips submits his evaluation, we move forward with the competency hearing." "And the offshore accounts?" Sophia asked. "All set up," Veronica confirmed. "Once we have control, we can structure the sale to Nexus however we want." They were planning to sell his company, his life's work, to his biggest competitor. Russell forced himself to remain still, to keep his breathing even. After they left, Dr. Manning entered. "They bought it completely," he said, checking Russell's actual vitals. "The nurses have been instructed to report your condition as deteriorating. And the tests, all fabricated as requested. Tomorrow we give them what they're expecting, a diagnosis that will support their claim that you're unfit to run the company." Russell nodded. "And the other arrangements?" "In place. The documents you wanted filed with the court were submitted this morning. Your attorney has everything else prepared." "Thank you, Harold. I know this is beyond your normal duties." Dr. Manning's expression darkened. "After what they did to my brother's company, helping you is my pleasure. Corporate vultures deserve what's coming to them." Russell smiled for the first time in weeks. "Tomorrow, then. Make it convincing." Chapter 4. Diagnosis. The next morning, Russell's hospital room filled with his family and Dr. Phillips, the physician who had betrayed patient confidentiality for money. Russell had already documented these ethics violations through Webb's investigation. "I have the test results," Dr. Phillips announced, his demeanor appropriately grave. "Mr. Sinclair, I'm afraid it's not good news." Russell feigned confusion. "What's wrong with me?" "You're showing signs of frontotemporal dementia. It explains the personality changes, decision-making difficulties, and memory problems your family has reported." Russell noted how Veronica squeezed Sophia's hand, not in distress, but triumph disguised as support. "Is there treatment?" Russell asked weakly. "We can manage symptoms, but the condition is progressive," Phillips explained, avoiding eye contact. "Given the nature of your responsibilities at Sinclair Innovations, I recommend stepping back from day-to-day operations immediately." Theo nodded solemnly. "The company needs stable leadership, Russell. For everyone's sake." "I've already spoken with Martin Fletcher," Veronica added. "He's prepared temporary power of attorney documents for you to sign." Russell closed his eyes, appearing overwhelmed. "I need time to process this." "Of course, darling," Veronica soothed, patting his hand. "We'll take care of everything." After they left to give him space, Dr. Manning entered with another physician. "Your family has just received quite a shock," the unknown doctor said, closing the door. "Russell, this is Dr. Elaine Cho from UCLA Medical Center," Manning introduced. "The specialist I mentioned." Russell sat up, dropping the act entirely. "Did they believe it?" "Completely," Dr. Manning confirmed. "Phillips delivered the diagnosis exactly as we scripted." "They're meeting with their attorney now," Dr. Cho added. "Your investigator has them under surveillance." Russell nodded. "And the real test results?" Dr. Cho opened her tablet. "Perfect health, Mr. Sinclair. Your neurological function is actually above average for your age group." "Excellent. Harold, please proceed with Phase 2. After the doctors left, Russell made a phone call. "Webb, implement the financial freeze. And send me the video feed from my home office." On his tablet, Russell watched as Veronica, Theo, Sophia, Derek, and Martin Fletcher gathered in his home office. "The diagnosis is perfect," Fletcher was saying. "With the medical documentation, the competency hearing is just a formality. The judge will grant temporary control to the three of you jointly." "And the company's sale?" Derek asked. "Once you have control, you can approve the sale to Nexus. The offer is extremely generous, $3.4 billion. We'll each clear over $800 million after taxes," Theo said gleefully. "Russell built a nice little nest egg for us." Veronica poured champagne for everyone. "To new beginnings." Russell closed the feed, his expression hardening. The trap was set, and his betrayers were walking straight into it. Chapter 5. Counter-moves. Russell checked himself out of the hospital the next morning against medical advice. His family was horrified, exactly as he'd anticipated. "Dad, you can't leave. You're sick." Sophia protested in the hospital lobby, genuine panic in her voice. The competency hearing was still 2 days away. "I'm fine," Russell insisted, maintaining his facade of confusion while purposely making erratic decisions. "I need to get back to work." "Russell, please," Veronica pleaded, exchanging worried glances with Theo. Dr. Phillips specifically said. "I don't care what he said," Russell snapped. "My company needs me." The drive to Sinclair Innovations headquarters was tense, with Veronica and Sophia following in a separate car, frantically making phone calls. When Russell walked into the executive floor, the staff's surprise was evident. He'd been absent for nearly 2 weeks, with rumors of illness circulating. "Mr. Sinclair," his assistant Maggie said, rising from her desk with wide eyes. "We weren't expecting you." "Emergency board meeting," Russell announced loudly. "My office, 30 minutes. "Russell, you can't do this," Theo hissed, catching up to him. "You're not thinking clearly." Russell turned to his brother, allowing genuine anger to show through his performance. 20 years of partnership, and this is how you repay me? By conspiring with Walter Prentice? Theo blanched. "What are you talking about?" "I know everything, Theo." He turned to Veronica and Sophia, who had just stepped off the elevator. "About all of you." For a moment, genuine fear flashed across their faces. Then Sophia recovered, adopting a concerned expression for the benefit of watching staff. "Dad, you're confused. This is what the doctor warned us about, paranoid delusions." Russell allowed himself to be led into his office, where Sophia subtly signaled to Maggie to call Dr. Phillips. Once the door closed, the pretense dropped. "What exactly do you think you know?" Veronica asked coldly. Russell sat behind his desk, savoring the moment. "Enough. This is ridiculous," Theo spat. "You're sick, Russell. You need help." "The board meeting is still happening," Russell said calmly. "But not the one you planned." Before they could respond, Maggie entered. "Sir, Dr. Phillips is on his way, and the board members are gathering in the conference room." "Thank you, Maggie. Please escort my family there now." "Russell," Veronica began. "Now," he repeated firmly. In the boardroom, 12 board members waited anxiously. Walter Prentice from Nexus Technologies sat at the far end, clearly not expecting Russell to be present. "Ladies and gentlemen," Russell began as his family took their seats, "thank you for coming on such short notice." Dr. Phillips rushed in, looking flustered. "Mr. Sinclair, you shouldn't be here. Your condition is non-existent," Russell finished. He gestured to Dr. Manning and Dr. Cho, who entered with thick folders. "May I introduce Dr. Harold Manning and Dr. Elaine Cho, neurological specialists from UCLA Medical Center." Confusion spread through the room as Russell continued. "For the past month, I've been investigating a conspiracy against me and this company. A conspiracy involving my wife, my daughter, my brother, and several others in this room." Outrage and denials erupted immediately. "Russell, this is exactly what we were worried about," Veronica said loudly. "Paranoid delusions." "Silence," Russell commanded, his voice cutting through the chaos. He nodded to his assistant, who distributed folders to each board member. "The evidence is in front of you. Bank transfers, recorded conversations, surveillance photos, my brother selling company secrets to our competitor, my wife embezzling company funds for her lover, my daughter facilitating a planned hostile takeover." The board members flipped through the documents in stunned silence. "This is preposterous," Theo finally sputtered. "Is it?" Russell pressed a button, and the room's screens displayed video footage. Theo meeting with Prentice, handing over documents, Veronica transferring funds to offshore accounts, Sophia coordinating meetings between all parties. "You've been monitoring us?" Sophia gasped. "That's illegal." "Actually," Russell's personal attorney said, standing, Mr. Sinclair obtained court approval for all surveillance after presenting initial evidence of corporate espionage and fiduciary misconduct. Russell looked directly at Dr. Phillips, including evidence that my personal physician violated HIPAA laws by discussing my medical information and fabricating symptoms to support a false diagnosis. Phillips went pale. I never. Save it for your medical board hearing. Russell cut him off. Now, as for the matter at hand, Nexus Technologies' attempt to acquire this company through fraud and conspiracy. We had no knowledge of any improper actions. Prentice interjected quickly. The emails on page 23 suggest otherwise, Russell replied coldly. Now, I called this meeting not just to expose this conspiracy, but to announce several changes. He nodded to his attorney, who distributed additional documents. Effective immediately, Veronica Sinclair, Theo Sinclair, and Sophia Sinclair are removed from any positions within Sinclair Innovations, and their company shares are frozen pending criminal investigation. His family erupted in protests, but Russell continued calmly. Furthermore, I am withdrawing from active management of the company. I am appointing Caroline Walsh as CEO, effective immediately. A slender woman in her 40s stood from the middle of the table, his longtime head of operations who had risen through the ranks on merit alone. The boardroom descended into chaos as security personnel entered to escort out the conspirators. Russell watched impassively as his family was led away, their threats and pleas falling on deaf ears. This isn't over, Russell, Veronica shouted as she was escorted out. You can't prove anything. But the evidence spoke for itself, and the board members' expressions had shifted from confusion to shock to anger at how they'd been manipulated. As the room emptied, Caroline approached Russell. Are you sure about this? Russell nodded. You've earned it, Caroline. The company needs someone with integrity at the helm. And what will you do? Russell allowed himself a small smile. I'm not finished yet. Chapter 6, The Missing Piece. The competency hearing never happened. Instead, Veronica, Theo, and Sophia found themselves fighting multiple legal battles, criminal charges for conspiracy, corporate espionage, and wire fraud, civil suits from Sinclair Innovations, and divorce proceedings from Russell. 2 weeks after the board meeting, Russell sat in Webb's office reviewing new information. They're scrambling, Webb reported. Their assets are frozen. Fletcher has withdrawn as their attorney. Nexus Technologies is denying all involvement and threatening to sue them for defamation. Russell nodded. And Derek Holbrook? Disappeared 3 days ago, emptied what was left of his accounts, and vanished. Find him, Russell ordered. He's the missing piece. May I ask why? You've already destroyed their plan. The company is secure. They're facing prison time. Russell's expression darkened. Because it's not enough. That evening, Russell returned to the mansion to collect personal items. Under the divorce proceedings, Veronica was permitted to remain in the house temporarily. He found her in the living room, drinking heavily. Come to gloat, she slurred. Russell studied her, the woman he'd spent 30 years with, now a stranger. Why, Veronica? We had everything. She laughed bitterly. Everything you wanted. Your company. Your success. Your schedule. She drained her glass. Do you know how many dinners I ate alone? How many events I attended solo? Because Sinclair Innovations always came first. That company provided you with a life most people only dream of. A gilded cage is still a cage, Russell. She poured another drink with shaking hands. Derek made me feel alive again. And selling my company to my biggest competitor? Was that also about feeling alive? Veronica's expression hardened. That was business. You taught me that everything has a price. Indeed it does, Russell agreed coldly. And you're about to learn exactly how high that price can be. He turned to leave, but paused at the door. Where is he, Veronica? Who? Derek. Your lover who abandoned you the moment things got difficult. Pain flashed across her face. I don't know. He won't answer my calls. Russell smiled thinly. When you hear from him, tell him I'm looking forward to our meeting. The next day, Russell visited Sophia at her penthouse apartment, a gift for her 30th birthday that she would soon lose. You've ruined everything, she spat when she opened the door. My reputation is destroyed. My friends won't speak to me. The board of the charity foundation asked me to resign. Russell stepped inside, noting the half-packed suitcases. Running away won't help, Sophia. What choice do I have? You've turned everyone against me. You did that yourself. Russell studied his daughter, once his greatest pride. I gave you everything, Sophia. Education, opportunity, a future most people spend decades building. You gave me a job in your company where I would always be Russell Sinclair's daughter, she retorted. Never my own person, never respected for my own abilities. So you decided to steal it instead of earning it. Tears welled in her eyes. You never would have given me real control. I would have spent my life in your shadow. And now you'll spend it in my disgrace. Russell moved toward the door. The investigators will want to know where Derek Holbrook is hiding. Sophia looked confused. Why would I know? Because he was using both you and your mother, Russell said calmly. The texts between you two were quite explicit. Sophia paled. That's not. We were just. Save the denials. Webb has everything. He paused at the door. One last thing. Derek stole the emergency diamonds your mother kept in her safe. $3 million worth. You might want to check your jewelry box. As realization dawned on Sophia's face, Russell left, satisfied with planting another seed of discord. His final visit was to Theo, who had retreated to his lake house. I always knew you were ruthless, Theo said when Russell arrived. But this is beyond anything I imagined. Your own family, Russell, says the man who sold company secrets to my competitor. Theo had the decency to look ashamed. I was tired of being second best. Everything I accomplished, you took credit for. I gave you opportunities no one else would have after your early failures, Russell countered. 3 startup disasters before I brought you into my company. Your company, Theo emphasized bitterly. Always your company, and now it will never be yours. Russell studied his younger brother. Where is Derek Holbrook? Theo's expression shifted. Why do you care? You've won, Russell. We're all destroyed. Not all of you, Russell said quietly. Holbrook orchestrated this from the beginning. He approached Veronica first, then you, then Sophia. He connected you with Prentice. He brought in Fletcher. Theo looked genuinely surprised. What are you talking about? Veronica introduced him to us. Did she? Russell removed a folder from his jacket and tossed it on the table. Derek Holbrook isn't his real name. It's Paul Mercer. He specialized in corporate takeovers through family manipulation at his previous firm, Wellington Capital. Theo opened the folder, his face draining of color as he read. This can't be right. He was just Veronica's tennis instructor, a role he's played before. 3 times, to be exact, all ending with companies sold at bargain prices and families in ruins. Russell moved toward the door. Think about it, Theo. Who suggested approaching Prentice first? Who recommended Fletcher as the attorney? Who pushed the idea of declaring me mentally incompetent instead of simply voting me out? As understanding dawned on Theo's face, Russell added, he used all of you, and now he's disappeared with millions while you face the consequences. After leaving Theo's house, Russell called Webb. It's working. They're turning on each other. Any leads on Holbrook? Possibly. Facial recognition picked him up at a hotel in Santa Barbara. We're confirming now. Good. Once you have him, you know what to do. Russell ended the call, his plan entering its final phase. The separate threads of betrayal he'd planted would now weave themselves into a tapestry of mutual destruction. Chapter 7. The Architect. Derek Holbrook, or Paul Mercer, as his real identity revealed, sat at the hotel bar in Santa Barbara, celebrating his successful escape. $3 million in diamonds, another $2 million in offshore accounts, and the satisfaction of orchestrating a perfect scheme. Sure, the Sinclair takeover had fallen apart, but he'd built redundancies into his plan. He always did. His phone vibrated with yet another message from Veronica. He ignored it as he had the previous 50. The diamonds in his hotel safe were worth far more than her desperate pleas. Paul Mercer. The voice behind him sent ice through his veins. He turned slowly to find Russell Sinclair sitting at the adjacent bar stool. I prefer Derek these days, he managed, calculating escape routes. Russell signaled the bartender for a drink. I'm sure you do. It's a better fit for a tennis instructor turned con man. I don't know what you're talking about. Derek replied smoothly. "And I have nothing to say to you without my attorney present." "You don't have an attorney anymore. Fletcher dropped you along with my family." Russell accepted his whiskey. "Impressive scheme, though. You've refined it since the Hamilton family in Chicago." Derek's composure slipped momentarily. "You can't prove anything." "I already have. The question is what happens next." Russell sipped his drink. "You see, I've spent the past 3 weeks dismantling my family's lives, freezing assets, initiating criminal proceedings, destroying reputations. But they were just pawns. You're the architect. If this is some attempt to recover the diamonds, you're wasting your time," Derek said coldly. "They're long gone." Russell smiled. "I don't care about the diamonds. They serve their purpose, giving my family one more reason to hate each other." He leaned closer. "No, what I want is for you to understand something. You chose the wrong target." Before Derek could respond, Russell continued. "My associate, Mr. Webb, is currently in your hotel room, replacing your diamonds with convincing fakes. By tomorrow, the real ones will be back in my possession." "That's impossible." "The safe is a standard hotel model that takes exactly 3.7 seconds to override with the right equipment." Derek's face hardened. "What do you want?" "For you to deliver a message." Russell finished his drink. "Tell whoever hired you that their plan failed." Derek's surprise was genuine. "Hired me? Nobody hired me. This was my operation." Russell studied him carefully. A tennis instructor from nowhere suddenly targets one of the country's leading security technology firms, orchestrating a complex takeover involving multiple family members? "I don't think so." "Believe what you want," Derek shrugged. "I researched you for months. Found the weak points in your family. Your wife was the easiest, neglected, resentful, desperate for attention." Russell's expression didn't change, but his eyes darkened. "Enjoy your freedom while it lasts, Mr. Mercer. The authorities in both Illinois and California are very interested in speaking with you." As Russell stood to leave, Derek called after him. "They hated you, you know. All of them. Your wife, your daughter, your brother. They celebrated the idea of your downfall. What does that tell you about the great Russell Sinclair?" Russell paused. "That I chose my business partners better than my family." He placed a business card on the bar. "When you're ready to tell me who really sent you, call that number. It might be the only thing that keeps you out of prison." Later that night, Russell reviewed Webb's latest report in his new penthouse overlooking the Pacific. "The surveillance is in place," Webb confirmed. "Holbrook made 3 calls after you left. One to a burner phone we couldn't trace, one to a lawyer in Los Angeles, and one to a private airport in Santa Barbara. He's planning to run," Russell noted. "Make sure he succeeds in escaping the hotel, but doesn't make it to the airport." "Already arranged. And the information you wanted planted." Russell nodded. "Make sure each of them receives their personalized evidence package tomorrow. Veronica gets proof of Sophia and Derek. Sophia gets evidence of Theo orchestrating everything with Derek. Theo gets documentation of Veronica being the mastermind. They'll tear each other apart," Webb observed. "That's the plan." Russell closed the file. "Update me when Holbrook is secured." After Webb left, Russell stood at the window, gazing at the ocean. The company was safe under Caroline's leadership. His fortune was protected through careful legal maneuvers completed months ago. All that remained was ensuring his betrayers destroyed each other so thoroughly that they could never threaten him again. His phone rang, a secure line few people had access to. "Yes, it's done," the voice reported. "Holbrook has been intercepted. He had the fake diamonds, as expected, and the real ones recovered along with 3 burner phones, fake passports, and $50,000 in cash. Take him to the location we discussed. I'll meet you there tomorrow." Russell ended the call, satisfaction washing over him. The final act was about to begin. Chapter 8. The Confrontation. The abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Los Angeles had once belonged to a Sinclair Innovations subsidiary before being sold off years earlier. Russell had kept it off the books through a series of shell companies, one of many contingency measures he'd established throughout his career. Derek Holbrook sat handcuffed to a metal chair in the center of a concrete room, a single bulb illuminating his bruised face. Webb's team had been necessarily rough during the extraction. "Mr. Holbrook," Russell greeted him, entering with 2 security professionals flanking him. Comfortable. This is kidnapping. Derek spat, blood trickling from his split lip. You'll go to prison for this. Russell set a briefcase on a nearby table. That would require someone to report it. And you, unfortunately, don't exist anymore. He opened the case, revealing a laptop. Paul Mercer's identity has been erased from every database. Derek Holbrook never had one to begin with. Fear flickered across Derek's face. What do you want? The truth. Who hired you? Nobody hired me, Derek insisted. I saw an opportunity with your wife and took it. Russell nodded to one of the security men, who placed a phone on the table and played a recording. It's done, Derek's voice said. The Sinclair woman is completely compromised. We move on to the brother next. Good, an electronically altered voice responded. Remember, we need all 3 family members involved before approaching Prentice. Derek's expression tightened. You've been recording my calls. For months, Russell confirmed. Now let's try again. Who hired you? When Derek remained silent, Russell sighed and opened the laptop. Perhaps this will refresh your memory. He turned the screen toward Derek, showing a live video feed of an elegant apartment. A woman moved about the kitchen, unaware of the camera. Your sister, Russell explained. Amanda Mercer, currently working as a pharmaceutical sales representative in Boston, shares custody of her 10-year-old son with her ex-husband. He switched to another feed, a school playground. Your nephew, I believe. Derek lunged forward, restrained by the handcuffs. You stay away from them. I have no interest in your family, Russell said coldly. Unlike you, I don't target innocent people. But I will have a name. The fear in Derek's eyes gave way to resignation. If I tell you, they'll kill me. If you don't tell me, you'll wish they had. Russell leaned forward. One name, and you walk away. New identity, new start, far from here. Derek slumped in the chair. Walter Prentice wasn't just looking to buy your company. The technology you're developing for the Defense Department, the autonomous security protocol, it's worth billions to certain foreign interests. Prentice is working for a foreign government. Derek shook his head. Not directly. There's a shell corporation, Meridian Consulting. They approached me 18 months ago, said they needed someone to help facilitate a corporate acquisition with complicated family dynamics. Russell processed this information. Meridian Consulting was a known front for corporate espionage, with suspected ties to several hostile intelligence services. Who's your contact? I only dealt with one person, called himself Smith. British accent, possibly fake. Mid-50s, gray hair, scar on his right hand. Russell recognized the description immediately. Sebastian Miller, a former MI6 operative turned private contractor with a reputation for operating in gray areas. And my family never suspected they were being manipulated for foreign interests? Derek laughed bitterly. They were too busy hating you to question anything. Your wife resented living in your shadow. Your daughter felt smothered by your control. Your brother believed you stole his ideas for decades. I just gave them permission to act on feelings they already had. The revelation stung more than Russell would admit. He'd known about their betrayal, but hearing the depths of their resentment confirmed his decision. You'll provide a full statement naming everyone involved, Russell instructed. In return, you'll receive a new identity and enough money to start over somewhere very, very far away. And if I refuse? Russell closed the laptop. Then Amanda and her son will receive a comprehensive file detailing your crimes across 3 states, along with the names of several people you've crossed who would be very interested in finding you. Derek stared at him for a long moment. You really are as ruthless as they said. No, Russell corrected him. I'm worse. The next morning, Russell sat in his attorney's office as his family arrived separately for what they believed was a settlement negotiation. The stunned silence when they saw each other was telling. They hadn't communicated since receiving the evidence Webb had planted. What is he doing here? Sophia demanded, glaring at Theo. I could ask the same about you. Theo shot back. Veronica simply sat as far from both as possible, her once perfect appearance now haggard. Russell's attorney cleared his throat. Thank you all for coming. Mr. Sinclair has a proposal that may interest you. Russell studied each of them before speaking. Yesterday, Derek Holbrook was arrested by federal authorities. He's provided evidence that all of you were unwitting participants in a scheme orchestrated by foreign interests to acquire Sinclair Innovations' classified defense technology. Their shock appeared genuine, though Russell knew they were more surprised by Holbrook's capture than the revelation. Given these circumstances, he continued, I'm willing to drop the civil suits against each of you under certain conditions. Hope flickered across their faces. First, you will sign complete confessions to your roles in the conspiracy, which I will hold but not file unless you violate our agreement. And the criminal charges? Theo asked cautiously. I've spoken with the prosecutor. Given Holbrook's testimony implicating you as unwitting tools, they're amenable to reduced charges resulting in probation rather than prison time. The relief in the room was palpable. What's the catch? Sophia asked suspiciously. Russell smiled thinly. Each of you will receive a one-time payment of $5 million. You will then leave California permanently. You will have no contact with each other, with me, or with anyone associated with Sinclair Innovations. You will sign comprehensive NDAs prohibiting you from discussing the company, its technology, or this agreement. Any violation results in immediate forfeiture and criminal prosecution. $5 million. Veronica repeated incredulously. After 30 years of marriage, that's all I get? Be grateful it's not prison, Russell replied coldly. Derek confirmed how eagerly you plan my downfall, how you celebrated my supposed illness. Veronica at least had the decency to look ashamed. And if we refuse, Theo challenged, then the evidence goes to trial. You face 20 years for corporate espionage, wire fraud, and conspiracy. Your reputations, already damaged, will be destroyed completely. Russell stood. The agreements are prepared. You have 30 minutes to decide. As he moved to leave the room, Sophia called after him. Dad, wait. We were wrong, but you stopped being my daughter the moment you conspired against me. Russell cut her off. This arrangement is business, nothing more. He left them to consider their options, knowing they had no real choice. Chapter 9. The Last Laugh. 6 months later, Russell stood on the observation deck of Sinclair Tower, the new headquarters of Sinclair Innovations in downtown Los Angeles. The company had not only survived the attempted takeover, but thrived under Caroline Walsh's leadership. The Defense Department contract had been secured, and stock prices had reached record highs. Beautiful view, Webb commented, joining him at the railing. Worth every penny, Russell agreed. What news? Webb handed him a tablet. Veronica has settled in Miami, bought a condo, joined a country club. She's dating a retired investment banker. Russell swiped through the surveillance photos impassively. Sophia, New York, working under an assumed name at a small marketing firm, keeping a low profile. And Theo, Seattle, trying to launch another startup with what's left of his settlement. Russell handed back the tablet. And our other friend, Miller, was picked up by Interpol in Geneva last week. The evidence you provided was quite compelling. Meridian Consulting is being investigated by 3 different intelligence agencies. And Holbrook, living as Michael Preston in New Zealand, following the terms of his agreement to the letter. Russell nodded, satisfied. Continue monitoring all of them. Quarterly reports unless something significant changes. Of course. Webb hesitated. If I may ask, what will you do now? The company is secure. Your family is gone. The conspirators have been dealt with. Russell smiled as he gazed out at the city sprawling before him. Now, Mr. Webb, I start over. 1 year to the day after his family's betrayal, Russell sat in the first-class lounge at Los Angeles International Airport, waiting for his flight to Tokyo. Sinclair Innovations was expanding its Asian operations, and he decided to personally oversee the launch. His phone buzzed with a news alert. Walter Prentice had been sentenced to 15 years for espionage and corporate fraud. Another loose end tied neatly. A woman approached his table. Mr. Sinclair? I'm Diana Foster, your new security consultant for the Tokyo office. Russell gestured for her to sit. Webb had personally vetted everyone on his new team, ensuring no possibility of another betrayal. Are you ready for the move to Tokyo? She asked, as they reviewed security protocols. More than ready, Russell replied. A fresh start. His phone buzzed again, a A secure message from Webb, V.S., and T all received their special anniversary packages as instructed. Russell allowed himself a small smile. Each of his former family members had just received comprehensive documentation of the other's betrayals. Veronica learning how Sophia had seduced Derek. Sophia discovering Theo had planned to cut her out completely after the takeover. Theo finding proof that Veronica had suggested selling his division first after gaining control. The final twist of the knife, ensuring they would never trust each other again, never unite against him in the future. Something amusing? Diana asked. Russell tucked the phone away. Just remembering something someone once said to me. What's that? That revenge is a dish best served repeatedly. He raised his glass in a private toast. To new beginnings and old reckonings. As his flight was called, Russell Sinclair walked toward his future, leaving the ruins of those who had betrayed him smoldering in his wake. They had sought to steal his company, his legacy, and his dignity. Instead, they had lost everything while he emerged stronger than ever. In the hospital bed, they had thought him defeated. In the end, he'd had the last laugh. And there you have it. Another story comes to an end. What did you think? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this story, consider joining our community by subscribing. It means the world to us. For more stories like this one, check out the recommended videos on screen. And I'll see you there.